The Central Bank of Nigeria has recently been quite busy with efforts to resist further decline in the value of the naira and perhaps attempt to restore the worth of the Nigerian currency as compared to the US dollars and other currencies from around the world. Many financial experts have attempted to explain what eroded value of the naira, but the more explanations, the more complex it appears to the financially untutored minds. May I now state categorically that I'm delving into this stuff not as an expert in financial matters, but as one who is concerned about the many questions Nigerians are asking and have asked much more myself. I will therefore present the responses I've gotten in a simple way for all to appreciate. The biggest factor identified by most economists and financial experts is the function of the economic principle of demand and supply, which posits that when a commodity is scarce, demand remaining high, the price will rise. It then means that the demand is higher than supply. But if supply is higher than demand, price will fall. I hope this is simple enough to understand. Now, as it concerns the dollar, the major source of supply of dollar to Nigeria is the crude oil market. The decline in the price of crude oil at the global market is agreed by many as a major factor. Now listen to this. Up till June 2014, Nigeria sold its crude at about $110 per barrel, but by December same year, it has dropped to not more than $60 per barrel. Since then, the fluctuation has remained constant. By Friday, August 14, 2015, the price of crude hovered around $50 per barrel, which is very close to the worst in 6.5 years. What this implies is that the dollar became scarce due to the sharp drop in the amount accruable from the sale of crude oil. Reasons why the price of crude oil crashed in the global market are quite instructive but not strictly relevant for this conversation. Now, this situation as it affects Nigeria may remain for some time as the talks about diversifying the country's economy have been implemented 100% only on the pages of newspapers. Nigeria is still a largely mono economy that depends on the sale of crude oil to keep the economic nerve of the country alive. While the price of crude dropped, leading to less quantity of the dollar available, pressure mounted on the naira, which led to a decline in value. In other words, much more naira is chasing few dollars. But the question is, why? We operate an import-based economy. Household, food, industrial, medication. In fact, the range is so wide, we even import toothpick, plastics, and all manner of things, including tissue paper. And such transactions are carried out with the dollar. In the face of scarce dollars, the value of the naira became eroded. While this is going on, the monetary regulator, which in this case is the Central Bank of Nigeria, is battling to put up checks here and there that will stop the naira from a total free fall. One of such measures is the use of the foreign reserve, which is in dollars, to balance the deficit. The flip side of this measure is that as the foreign reserve is depleting without a commensurate inflow, naira is still going under more intense pressure. Aside all the interplay between economic functions, we will not fail to mention the more popular but often described by financial analysts as simplistic view that the scarcity of dollars in circulation was caused by politicians and their cronies who stashed the currency prior to the 2015 general elections. They had anticipated mayhem and had prepared for a fast and easy life outside the would have been theater of war. Governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Godwin Emefiele, in an interview with This Day, August 3, spoke on the pressure on the naira. I quote him here. The other factor that is responsible for this is also because we have illicit wealth circulating within the country. These are people who want to hide what they had stolen, monies that they had acquired illicitly, and they are converting it from naira into dollars. In case anyone didn't understand the point, he went ahead to emphasize. As a result of currency substitution and the high incidence of people trying to hide their illicit wealth, the level of foreign currency in our system has ballooned such that the banks cannot cope with it again. This is why we are where we are. End of quote. And that's the statement by the governor of the Central Bank, Godwin Emefiele. It will be unfair not to mention the connivance of banks in creating the problem. Most banks that have excess cash of foreign currencies have compromised the rules in more ways than one. Many of the banks over time turned blind eyes to the requirement of reporting any deposit beyond $10,000 to the regulatory authorities, perhaps because of the competition of having higher deposit and healthier capital base. Secondly, many of these banks, our investigations have shown, have millions of dollars stored in the vaults that do not reflect in their books. In other words, the banks serve as illegal warehouse for illegal funds, while the foreign currency are scarce for legitimate purpose. In conclusion, the Central Bank of Nigeria can do all it can, but cannot control price of crude oil in the international market. That means that the only option is to seek ways of eliminating avoidable pressure on the naira through monetary policies that will not be inflationary. But more importantly, those individuals and their collaborating banks should save the country from the current economic doom or downturn and pump back the stolen money into the system. There seems to be no other way of getting out of the situation than bringing the dollars into the parallel market and close down the gap with the official rate. And maybe then we would have begun the process of restoring or reconstructing our economy. Until the politicians at their courts are ready for this or to do this, Nigeria may be considering another controlled devaluation of the naira. But remember, ill wind blows no man any good.